Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a Grille, the Tier 5 German SPG. It's located on the south spawn of Prokhorovka and it's under the command of Talon 1958. And well, this is a video about a team killing and a team trolling. Okay, battle has started. Now, keep your eyes on the T1 Heavy, the Type T34 and the T34 ahead of Talon. They're going to be involved in a conflict or confrontation a little further on. As you know, the Grille's got a 15cm howitzer, and Talon's very good with this machine. It can do 540 alpha if it can penetrate 38mm of armour. So, what's going to happen? Well, the T1 Heavy is going to try and push the Type T34 and the other T34 about on the battlefield. He's going to shove them and push them about, and they're going to get so upset. In fact, one of them starts firing on the T1 Heavy, and the T1 Heavy starts firing on him. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to third-party camera, so you can actually see what's going to happen, and move up the battlefield so you're aware. And I'm going to try and take up a position above what's going on. You can see the T1 Heavy is slightly further back at the moment, but he's going to start moving up. There you go. He's moving up. I'll take the mini-map off so we can actually see what's going on. Okay, look, and he goes up behind the Type T34, and he's now pushing him in the rear in the bushes. Type T34 moves up a bit, and we've lost sight of them because of the replay faults. But I can tell you that the Type T1 Heavy continues to push the other tanks about. There he's shoving the Type T34 in the rear, pushes past him. Get a bit closer so you can see what's going on. Now he's pushing the other T34 up the map, and the Type T34 is coming up behind the T1 Heavy. Now you see the other T34 has moved over to one side. Now they've seen the enemy. There's an enemy Stug over there, and Talon takes it out with an Arty shot. But meanwhile, there's been a bit of a confrontation over here as well, and the Type T34 pulls back because he's not very happy with what was going on, and now he's being shoved back by the T1 Heavy. He's being shoved physically backwards, and the Type T34 does not appreciate this. And yeah, the T1 Heavy is pushing them about, and the other T34 is pulling back. But the Type T34 is doing damage, and Talon's just got a shot on the enemy. The T1 Heavy is now shooting on the Type T34, and he shot him twice and didn't turn blue. Just keep moving back so you can see what's going on. You see that they're both shoving each other. Well, the T1 Heavy is shoving the T34 back, and the Type T34 gets very upset about this, and he starts shooting on the T1 Heavy. They've knocked the tree down now, lost sight of them. Talon now has 3 kills. He's also killed a KV2 on the other side of the battlefield whilst we were watching this confrontation go on. Now you can see the Type T34 is being shoved physically sideways, backwards, whilst the T1 Heavy's pointing his gun at him, and it's very upsetting to the Type T34. Well, the Type T34 is now shooting on the T1 Heavy. And with that ram, he's turned blue. So now, of course, the T1 Heavy can shoot on the Type T34 without worry of being turning blue himself, even though he has done a considerable amount of damage already. And the Type T-34 has been hit again. He fires on the T1 Heavy and now he's been banned. He's unable to be moved. And in fact, actually, in a very short while, he's going to be killed by one of our own Arty. Of course, he is blue, so he's no longer on our team. And in fact, at that moment, the 105 FH did kill the Type T-34. He didn't see the shot coming in, but it did. Now, what's going on? Well, the T1 Heavy is now parked behind Talon, and there's the wreck of the Type T-34. There's the other T-34, and there's the T1 Heavy. Now, Talon recognises there is a danger that the enemy is about to come down this end of the battlefield. I'll put the mini-map up again so you can see what's going on. And I'm moving over to where Talon is. There you can see that an IKV-65-2 has turned up. And he's being fired on. And he's being killed by the T-34. But shortly after that, the SU-100 on the enemy team killed the T-34, and now the T-1 Heavy is the only one left on that side of the battlefield. And Talon has decided to leave and go over to the other side. And there was a very nasty message from the T-34 in chat calling the T-1, well, by a part of his anatomy. And the KV-85 says, I hope some enemy killed the T1. Well, I'm sure that they all feel that now, because he's contributed to the loss of the Type T-34, which was not necessary at all. Now, Talon's not going over near the other Arty, which is the 105 FH ATB2, or the M41, which is over on the far east side of the map. He's moved up near the railway line and he's taking aim at that AT2. Now, the reason I'm saying in third person is because any second now you're going to see that T1 Heavy is making his way over to this side of the map. It's showing on the mini-map, but there you go. You can just see him in the distance. You can see that the Fifi is still firing at the enemy. Now, Talon moves a bit further up, behind the cover of the bushes. We'll lose sight of the T1 Heavy for a moment. He's now in the tree line, and he's heading north along the tree line. Here he comes. Now, you can't see him on the replay. He's just knocked something over behind Talon. Talon's in the open. It's fairly obvious where he is. And if you read the minimap, you can see exactly where he is. And the T1 Heavy is about to ram him from behind. Here he comes. And there he's rammed Talon and he's turned blue. And Talon's very upset at that, especially what he saw going on. He fires a round into the T1 Heavy. Since the T1 Heavy is blue, he's no longer on their team, so therefore Talon can dispose of him. And he won't be penalised. Okay, so he's disposed of the T1 Heavy. And the M41 says, go ahead and kill each other. The T1 Heavy says, sorry, sorry, sorry. But of course he could see Talon, both on the mini-map and in actuality, because they were there. He was fairly obvious in the open. Talon's now aiming at the enemy. And the M41 is saying, now we lose. Well, what they haven't considered is now that T1 Heavy has left the west side of the map, the enemy is now pouring down that side. Although they only have 5 tanks and Talon's side only have 4, there is an enemy tank over on the west side of the map. Now there's 3 enemy tanks up at the other end, we know that for certain. And the M4A3 EZ8 has just found one of their Arty, the M41 HMC. Talon's moving close to the centre line to get shorten the flight time of the shell. And an Su-100 has just killed the Fifi, the 105 H B2, down at the other end of the map. And our M41 has moved onto the hill because he appreciated that there was a possibility that the enemy was there. And now the enemy can cap. Meanwhile, the Easy 8 has killed the M41 at the other end. And the enemy is capping. It's only the Su-100 that's in the cap. But both Talon and the M41 are now turning to shoot at the enemy cap area. Of course, they've got nobody to spot for them, so they're just going to have to fire blind and hope that they hit something. Well, first shell didn't work. There's the M41 firing in. And I think Talon has decided the best thing he can do is go down and spot the enemy. Unfortunately, the M41 HMC has also decided to do the same thing. And they only need one of them to spot, they don't need both. It would have been more helpful if the M41 could have spotted, because he's a lower profile and Talon's got a much better gun. The 15cm gun on the Grille is actually slightly better than the M41's 155mm. But Talon's going to go up to the railway line crossing and see if he can spot the enemy. So the M41's also at the railway line, and yep, that was inevitable. The Su-100 was waiting for them, facing in this direction, and the other M41, he's over there. He's just been hit by the Arty, and now he's been killed by the Su-100. The Easy 8 was killed by the other enemies on the other side of the map, and the game is over. So it was a loss. So here's the end of battle results, and despite the fact that there was a lot of team killing going on and ramming and trolling, it was actually quite a good game for Talon 1958. He only got a bruiser medal out of it for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 6. But you can see his win rate was 755, and he did get 3 kills on the enemy. So let's have a look at team scores and see where we stand. Well, the highest damage in the battle was the Su-100, who was capping at the end. He managed to pick up a Dimitri's medal and a Top Gun. So he killed all 3 Arty, and he got at least 6 kills. He did 1,312 hit points of damage. Talon managed to get 460 hit points of damage and 3 kills. And when it came to base XP, we can see that it was the Su-100 who scored the highest with 785, the P43 Biz on the enemy team with 598, and the 82 with 506. But Talon still did fairly well with 247 base experience points. Unfortunately, the poor Type T34, who was bullied by the T1 Heavy, he got 87 hit points of damage on the enemy, no kills, and only 66 base experience points. The T1 Heavy got 83 hit points of damage on the enemy, slightly less, no kills, and 153 base experience points. So, let's have a look at detail for Talon first. Well, he fired 12 shots, got 3 direct hits, 9 splash, and damage of 460 hit points, of which 215 were at more than 300 meters. He did receive 1 hit, and it was a penetration. That was the Su-100, and that was terminal. He damaged 6 of the enemy, killed 3 of them, and did 36 hit points of stun assist off 4 stuns. On a premium count, he earned 11,796 credits, got 300 credits compensation for the ramming done by the T1 Heavy into him, and his total came to 12,096 credits, and after ammunition resupply and repair, he took away 4,455 credits. He earned 370 XP, got 371 for completing the mission and events, and 370 from a personal reserve bonus, so he took away 1,112 experience points altogether. So, who did wrong in this battle? Well, Talon didn't do anything wrong, because all he did was kill somebody who was blue. He didn't kill or fire on anyone who wasn't blue. He only fired on the enemy other than that T1 Heavy tank. The T1 Heavy did do damage. He pushed about those tanks, and they felt that they needed to fire on him to stop him damaging them and causing them problems. So I'd say the troublemaker in this case was Emmanuel 617, the T1 Heavy, because if he hadn't actually pushed the Type T34 and the T34 about, then it wouldn't have resulted in basically 2 team kills. Because, of course, the Type T34 was a team kill, and so was the T1 Heavy. But both, you could say, are justified team kills because both of these players did turn blue. Except, of course, I would say that Emmanuel 617 was the cause of it all. He did 236 hit points of damage to his allies. The Type T34 only did 20 hit points of damage to his allies. So you can see a considerable amount more damage was done by the T1 Heavy, and to more than one player. He was actually bullying both the Type T34 and the T34. Meanwhile, the T34 did actually fire on the enemy. He got 1 kill, 576 hit points of damage, and 215 base XP. And he didn't do any damage to his own team whatsoever. But he was certainly bullied by the T1 Heavy. So in my view, it is this T1 Heavy who's the problem maker. And he was justifiably team killed by Talon. And unfortunately, it did lead to them losing the game because, of course, without that T1 Heavy, they were unable to defend against the SU-100. But I would say that it was the T1 Heavy that caused the problem in the first place. And it just got worse from there on in. So, not a very good video in many ways, but at least Talon did his job properly. He did fire on the enemy, did get 3 kills. He would have got more, but for the fact, obviously, he was held back by his own team. So, if you enjoyed that video, please give it a like and do subscribe to our channel, and hopefully it'll be your replay that I'll be featuring in the next video.